toward him. You know, it's really kind of funny when you look at this turn of events. God can take what people meant for your harm and turn it around for your good. Amen. Our God is a turnaround God. Amen. You know what? He can turn poverty into prosperity. He can turn sickness into divine health. Amen. He can turn chaos and confusion into peace and joy. Amen. He can turn fear into faith. Amen. Our God is a turnaround God. I don't care where you are today, recognize one word from God that can change the whole situation. Amen. Say situation. One word from God can change the whole situation. Amen. Praise be to God. Oh, let's have some humor this morning. See, the joy of the Lord is our strength. Amen. Let's continue reading after the 6th chapter, verse 10. Then the king said to Haman, hurry, take the robe and the horses, as you have suggested, and do so for Mordecai, the Jew, who sits within the king's gate. Leave nothing undone of all that you have spoken. Wouldn't you have loved to see Haman's face? I know, I wish it could have been a fly on the wall. The king had agreed with everything that Haman wanted to do, and then he told him to do it for Mordecai. The same man that he wanted to kill, he had to honor. Amen. I can imagine that Haman couldn't believe what he was hearing. And to make matters worse, Haman had to parade Mordecai around on a horse and proclaim that the king was pleased with him. And this only added insult to injury. I mean, it was like putting salt in the wound. He wanted the king to hang Mordecai, but God turned the tables on him. God will flip the script on your enemies. Amen? Amen. Haman made 3 big mistakes. First of all, he planned to kill all the Jews by manipulating the king. Anytime somebody's trying to manipulate you, that's witchcraft. That's not of God. It's of the devil. Secondly, he didn't know that Queen Esther was also a Jew. And thirdly, he wanted to kill Mordecai, but the king wanted to reward Mordecai, so he was going against the king. When the king and Haman attended the dinner at Esther's house the second time, she revealed her Jewish identity. She told her husband about Haman's plot to kill all her people. Let's look at Esther, the 7th chapter, and we're going to look at verses 1 through 7. And I'll be reading from the New King James, so it sounds a little bit different from yours. Verse 1. So the king and Haman went to dine with Queen Esther. And on the second day, at the banquet of wine, the king said again to Esther, what is your petition, Queen Esther? It shall be granted to you. And what is your request? Up to half of the kingdom, it shall be done. The king was basically saying to Esther, whatever you want, you can have it. I even give you half of my kingdom. Just ask for it. Wow, that's a favor of God, isn't it? Verse 3. Then Queen Esther answered and said, if I have found favor in your sight, O king, and if it pleases the king, let my life be given me at my petition, and my people at my request. For we have been sold, my people and I, to be destroyed, to be killed, and to be annihilated. Had we been sold as male and female slaves, I would have held my tongue, although the enemy could never compensate for the king's loss. So King Ahasuerus answered and said to Queen Esther, who is he? Where is he? And who would dare to presume in his heart to do such a thing? The king was angry because the life of his beloved Queen Esther was in danger. And it was all because of a plot by one of his own men. He wanted to know who would dare to presume in his heart to do such a thing. Messing with my woman. Amen.
My queen.
My queen. Verse 6. And Esther said, the adversary and enemy is this wicked Haman. So Haman was terrified before the queen and the king. Then the king arose in his wrath from the banquet of wine and went into the palace garden. But Haman stood before Queen Esther, pleading for his life. For he saw that evil was determined against him by the king. Now this verse here, verse 7, in the New Living Translation says, Then the king jumped to his feet in a rage
Yeah.
and went to the palace garden.
Yes.
Haman, however, stayed behind to plead for his life with Queen Esther, for he knew that the king intended to kill him.
Yes.
The king was fired up.
Fired up.
Amen?
Yes, ma'am.
That's how my husband would be if you mess with me. He'd be
Yes.
fired up, wouldn't he, baby?
Yes.
Amen.
I'll be the same way you mess with my baby.
Amen. Or mess with your children. You'll be
Yes.
fired up.
Yes.
Well, the king was angry. Amen. Haman knew there was no sense in trying to plead with the king, because the king was mad enough to kill him. And his evil plan to kill all the Jews, he had threatened the king's wife.
Yes.
So he decided to beg the queen for mercy. He knew he wouldn't get anywhere with the king, so he decided to beg the queen for mercy. This shows how arrogant Haman was.
Wow.
He was asking the woman that he was going to kill, along with all her people, for mercy.
Save me, please.
How stupid can you be and still breathe? Let's read after the 7th, continue reading verses 8 through 10. When the king returned from the palace garden to the place of the banquet of wine, Haman had fallen across the couch where Esther was, begging for his life. Then the king said, will he also assault the queen while I am in the house? As the word left the king's mouth, they covered Haman's face. Now, the covering of Haman's face meant that he was condemned to die.
Yes.
See, Persian kings would not look upon a condemned man.
That's right.
So when they would cover his face, he knew he was through.